are formidable.
I've waited for this moment.
Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Late yesterday on the West Coast, unbeaten Jocelyn Camarillo racked up a highlight reel knockout over the grossly overmatched Isis Seo in what looks to have been a developmental fight for Jocelyn. Jocelyn, one of a cluster of fighters that MVP recently signed, though she has yet to make her debut under the promotion, was able to wrangle a developmental fight yesterday on ProBox on the undercard of Lester Martinez versus Emmanuel Aleem, and it didn't last very long, as boxers don't get paid by the hour. Campaigning in a light flyweight division, light flyweight, that is where Evelyn Bermudez currently reigns as a unified champion, and the only other belt is held by Mexico's own Lourdes Juarez. There are only 2 champions in the light flyweight division, but neither of them are an easy out. Jocelyn, only being 6-0 with 1 recorded knockout, is not on the eve of challenging either of them for their alphabet titles. It'll be some time before she's ready to fight for one, but to make matters worse, the reigning undisputed flyweight champion, Gabby Fundora, has intentions of moving down and seeing about becoming undisputed down there. So if Jocelyn doesn't run into Lourdes or Evelyn, she may run into Gabby Fundora by the time she is ready to fight for a title, having seen action 2 times in the previous year, once in May, then again in August, more recently yesterday on the West Coast. There's plenty of time left in the calendar year to get her back out there 2, maybe even 3 more times, as it is customary for fighters who are just starting out like Jocelyn to fight a lot in the beginning, banking as many rounds as possible to amass experience over time, fighting in those 6-rounders, those subsequent 8-rounders, and 10-rounders, ultimately. Post-fight, Jocelyn indicated that she'll be returning to action as soon as May in what will be her MVP debut, hopefully against somebody who can put up a better fight than Isis Seo did. A first-round knockout like that, while it's good for the highlight reel, the fighter can derive very little from dispatching their opponent so quickly, and if that happens enough times, the fighter may develop a false sense of security like Edgar Berlanga did in his first 16 fights, knocking over stiffs and club fighters. He got it in his head that he was this massive puncher until they stepped him up in class and the knockouts stopped. He started looking like a deer in the headlights, not really knowing what to do when he could not put away his opponent quickly. You're going to have to fall back on your boxing, and if that is lacking, you start to look like Edgar's been looking. I don't get the impression that's going to happen to Jocelyn, though. A little bit of work she was able to put on display yesterday showed a good variety of punches, going downstairs and then back up, short hooks.
Powerful.
It was a good advertisement for her boxing, putting a hellacious beating like that on Isis Seo that has since gone viral. Harkening back to Sinisi Estrada's first-round knockout of the overmatched Miranda Atkins, who was standing in as a late replacement and was dispatched just a few seconds into the first round. That is what happened here. Hopefully the next time we see Jocelyn in May, it's against someone a bit more formidable. In the main event, Lester the Molester Martinez outworked Emmanuel Aleem to win the WBC interim super middleweight crown. 6 months after his debatable draw with Christian Mabili, Martinez got it done against Emmanuel Aleem yesterday at Orange Show Event Center in San Bernardino, California. Martinez won a lopsided UD and the WBC interim super middleweight title. A trinket, little more than a booby prize, because you have to bear in mind the WBC already ordered a rematch between Christian and Lester, then out of the clear blue sky decided to rescind that order to have Lester do this instead. The 3 judges scoring the fight from ringside had it 120 to 108, 119 to 109, and 118 to 110 for Martinez, ranked number 4 by the Ring and number 2 by the World Boxing Council at Super Middle. Thanks to his victory, Martinez became the first fighter from Guatemala to win at least some portion of a world title. Aleem, who's ranked number 8 by the World Boxing Council, grabbed wins in 4 of his previous 5 fights, but couldn't get it going yesterday. The 32-year-old American took the center of the ring in the first round while flicking out a strong jab. Martinez, though, was calm and cool as he deflected those shots off his gloves and fired off with a couple of counter shots of his own. That's what Lester the Molester is good at, best described as a boxer-puncher who can do some boxing, do some punching. It's all in the name. Backpedaling, catching and countering. Well, that's how he won. In the second round, Martinez remained relaxed. He landed a handful of uppercuts and slick right hands. Aleem seemed puzzled and unable to get out of the way. The third and fourth rounds were more of the same, but in the fifth, Martinez turned up. During that round, the Guatemalan champion pushed his man back and attacked the body. Aleem didn't seem to be in over his head, but his offensive attack was tenuous. After firing up their fighter in the seventh, Aleem did his best to push the pace. Martinez languished against the ropes, but he didn't appear to be in much trouble. Aleem let his hands go in the 10th. That's where things got dicey, as Martinez stumbled against the ropes thanks to a strong left hand. Ultimately, Aleem's lack of offensive creativity showed, as Martinez used timely head movement in the final two rounds and a concentrated attack to the body and head to end things strongly, landing several clean uppercuts en route to the finish, showing that Emmanuel Aleem was no pushover. That guy's got a chin. Lester Martinez now holds the same title that eluded him last year. The 30-year-old contender fought Christian Mabili to a controversial split draw on the undercard of Terence Crawford's win over Canelo Alvarez last September at Allegiant Stadium. Following that outcome, the World Boxing Council ordered an immediate rematch with Mabili, who was elevated to full WBC champion this past January. Crawford was stripped of the WBC super middleweight title before he announced his retirement in mid-December because he didn't pay a sanctioning fee for the fight against Canelo, placed just one spot above Martinez in the ring's super middleweight rankings. Mabili is hoping to land his own fight with Canelo, and he might. We know the World Boxing Council would love nothing more than to put their belt back in the hands of Canelo Alvarez, who never skipped out on paying his sanctioning fees, no matter what they were. The Mexican star had arthroscopic surgery on his left elbow following his loss to Crawford, but he'll return September 12th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, against an opponent to be determined. When Martinez was asked what he wants to do next, he didn't name anyone specific, but he made it clear that he isn't ducking anyone. "I'm ready," Martinez said during his post-fight interview. "I'm ready to fight and do the best fights for you. We're ready to fight the best." If you looked out into the crowd during yesterday's Pro Box show, they got a really good turnout for this Lester Martinez fight, and I think Pro Box in the build-up did a fantastic job of promoting the show. Leading up to this weekend, I saw more in terms of promotion for Martinez versus Aleem than the fight running parallel to it between Emma Williams and Carlos Adames. And that one was actually for a full world title, whereas this one was just for an interim title. What should Lester the Molester Martinez do now? He's not getting Christian again, at least not right away. One fight that I had in mind, and I mentioned it during the live stream yesterday, they can put the Christian Mabili fight on hold for now, the rematch, and target the winner of Munguia versus Resendiz. Irrespective of who wins, that is a fight that you can easily sell on the West Coast, where there is a large contingent of not just Mexicans and Mexican Americans, but also South and Central Americans. Hence the attendance for the Guatemalans fight yesterday. I didn't even realize there were that many Guatemalans living in California. There's a lot of people there. A lot of crowd support for Lester the Molester, who you could give reasonable odds against either Armando Resendiz or Jaime Munguia, who's looking more and more vulnerable to a lot of people. I anticipate that Jaime is going to beat Armando Resendiz. He's going to lift the WBA title from him. I think Jaime wins a points decision. When he does, he becomes a two-weight world champion, having held the WBO title at junior middle years ago. If he wins the WBA at super middle, would make him a two-weight world champion, and in my opinion, he would fast become the most sought-after champion at super middle, second only to Canelo Alvarez, because Jaime is viewed as being beatable, quite beatable to a lot of people. Get knocked out by a little-known Frenchman with only a handful of knockouts will do that. I suppose the problem for Lester in trying to corner a fight with the winner is that he has no leverage to get the winner. He's got a WBC interim title. That's got fuck all to do with the WBA title, and he doesn't yet have so much marquee value that he would provide a financial incentive to the winner of that fight to defend their title against him voluntarily. It's a fantastic fight if you can make it, but there are some obstacles to overcome in trying to. Lester has no leverage over the winner of that fight. And being as capable as he is, he represents a hot potato, a high-risk, low-reward to a lot of the somebodies at the weight. I don't expect a Caleb Plant or an Edgar Berlanga to fight him willingly. A Jermall Charlo, if you even want to call him a somebody. Lester is a high-risk, low reward, and he was able to get the job done yesterday, as many people expected him to. Congratulations to him. Over to the card running parallel to the Pro Box show, the Matchroom show, where Carlos Adames dominated Ammo Williams and successfully defended his WBC title, now targeting a third division, a move to a third weight class. Carlos romped to a brutally dominant 12-round win over Austin Ammo Williams in a WBC middleweight boxing world title defense yesterday, ending over a year layoff in doing so. It was a statement performance from Adames, who showed more variety to his pugilistic arsenal over Williams, who appeared perhaps too tough for his own good. Ammo had won 4 fights in a row since his 11th round knockout loss to Hamza Shiraz 2 years prior, but looked a level below Adames, who remains unbeaten now for 7 years, since a defeat via decision to Patrick Teixeira in Vegas. Adames gave Williams a taste of his power early in the fight, dropping the challenger to the canvas with a straight right hand in the second round. He held his lead thanks to experienced maturity, particularly when Williams appeared interested in more ambitious punching in an attempt to force momentum to swing his way. A lot of the fight was really just Carlos bullying and bruising Ammo Williams, backing him into the ropes, being aggressive, being busy, and every so often, Ammo would let go of a decent counter that would buckle Adames momentarily. Every so often, there was more action from Williams in the 6th, but Adames, more rugged, manhandled Williams on the world stage, even knocking his mouthpiece out later in the fight. Ammo put up a fight as best as he could. As stated, every so often he'd get in with a decent-looking counter, but couldn't make it last, couldn't really build on it. There was barely a blemish on Adames' work, who outlanded Ammo by a ratio greater than 2-1, with 254 for the champion and only 127 for the challenger. In agreement with the routing, the 3 judges awarded the champion's work with a lopsided decision with scores of 117-109 2 times and 118-108. I can go down to 154, Adames said, about a move to junior middle. A move back. Rather than 160 at middleweight. There's a long list of people I want to fight at 160, and I want to put it out there. And at 168, I can fight anyone as well. Earlier today, reacting to his own performance against Ammo Williams, Carlos Adames took to his social media and said, "Everyone runs. Everyone backs up. I still haven't faced a fighter who wants to come forward." Hashtag built to break fighters. He continued, "I make 160 very easily, but I'll make 168 and shake even more. Here I come, hashtag the best middleweight, hashtag built to break fighters, hashtag Ammo will fall." Which he did. Carlos keeping his belt wasn't exactly a good thing for the middleweight division. It throws the future of it in doubt, because Carlos has no interest in unifying titles with his buddy, fellow champion, Arislan De Lara, who's got the WBA title. Yanibek Alimkanulai, who's got the WBO, is out of commission for the foreseeable future until the very end of this year. He's been stripped of the IBF, and we don't yet know who's going to end up with that. And it doesn't look like Carlos is going to stick around long enough to find out, because he's charting a course to the super middleweight division. You ask yourself, will he have enough size and enough power to make it as a super middleweight? Hey, I mean, Hamza Shiraz ain't doing half bad up there, and he moved up from middle. Armando Resendiz, he's a world champion now. He moved up from middle. The guy that he's about to fight, Jaime Munguia, like Carlos Adames, is a guy who used to campaign at junior middle, moved up to middle, and now he's been campaigning at super middle. That if all these guys can do all right up there, maybe Carlos can too. Maybe. Though, of course, in moving up there and potentially vacating the WBC title, it would throw the future of the middleweight division in doubt, because he's widely perceived, at least right now, as the best middleweight in the world. So what becomes of middleweight when the best guy leaves? I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Even though the middleweight division is widely regarded as one of the glamour weights historically, it's a pit stop. It's a fucking pit stop. It always has been for smaller fighters moving up in weight. And until those smaller fighters move up, it's not really exciting. When you think about the Fab Four, Marvin Hagler, Sugar Ray Leonard, Tommy Hearns, and Roberto Duran, 3 of the 4 were smaller fighters that moved up to middleweight. They moved up. Things aren't really exciting until they do. The fights that are often talked about historically. Fast forward a few years to when Gennady Golovkin was running around, beating up anybody they put in front of him. He by himself didn't garner but so much attention. Things don't start to heat up until smaller fighters move into the division. Maravilla, Miguel Cotto, subsequently Canelo Alvarez. That's when the middleweight division started heating up because historically, that's always been the case. It doesn't get interesting until the smaller fighters move into it. So you look at those guys at 154 like Boots and Virgil and Xander, Sebastian, Josh Kelly. Every single one of those guys in the not-so-distant future is gonna end up at middleweight, at which point it might be interesting again, though for now, it's dead as a doorknob. Especially now that Carlos is talking about moving up to super middle, that comparatively is a much deeper division. Reasons that Carlos might want to move up. It's the scarcity of fights. It's the scarcity of big names. What's the biggest fight you can hope to make at 160? There's no big fights for Carlos there. 168, there's a lot more going on. There's a lot more money flowing through that weight class. It's also an easier weight for Carlos to make. He's been making middleweight for how many years now? About 5 or 6 fights spread across 4 or 5 years. There's no real incentive to stay in the middleweight division, even being a champion there. What's it worth being a champion in a barren division? Theoretically, he could stay at 160 waiting for those 154s to move up, but how long is that gonna take? Long enough he doesn't want to stick around. He fought well yesterday, in spite of the ring rust and coming off a sizable layoff. He looked strong, looked sharp, controlled the fight. What about Emo? What happens for him now? Emo Williams might want to consider going to Zuffa Boxing. If he is jettisoned by Matchroom as a result of this loss, I don't know what else Matchroom can do for him, but over there at Zuffa, they have a middleweight division of their own where the most dangerous guy he'd have to worry about is Callum Walsh. Could see about becoming the inaugural Zuffa middleweight champion. If nothing else, they can keep him active, keep him busy, put money in his pocket. If Matchroom doesn't want to use him anymore, he can go over there, continue his career over there, rebuild.